Another day of three-digit subtraction with the algorithm. Our learning target today is I can subtract three-digit numbers by using the algorithm, and I'll know I'm successful when I can regroup when there is more on the floor and just subtract when there is more on top. So we are going to practice the algorithm again today because this is tricky stuff. It can be tricky to remember when to regroup and when to not and how to do that. So that's why we're going to practice again today. And I'm going to practice first with the problem 337 minus 128. And so remember, I put a star on top of my ones place because that means I'm always going to start with my ones. I do not want to subtract the other numbers right now. So I have to ask myself now that I'm looking at just my ones place, is there more on top or more on the floor? And again, I'm just looking at my ones place. So is there more on top, 7, or is there more on the floor, 8? There's more on the floor, so I have to go next door and get some more. And by doing that, I have to take a 10 away from the 30 or the 3 in the tens place and give it to the 7 to make 17. Now that I took 1 away from 3, I have to have 2 up here now. So my ones place, now I have 17 on top and 8 on the floor. So 17 minus 8 is 9. And then 2 minus 2. If I look at if there's more on top or more on the floor, well, they're the same, which means yes, I can take them away. If I have 2 cookies, I can give 2 of them away. Yep. So 2 minus 2 is 0, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So our answer should be 209. Okay, that didn't seem so bad. I only had to regroup once, but this time I'm going to go with a little bit trickier problem. You'll see why. So we have 424 minus 267. And so far you might think, oh, that's not tricky, but you'll see. So just like before, I need to start with my ones place, always. And I'm asking myself, is there more on top or more on the floor? And there's more on the floor because 4 is less than 7, so there's more on the floor. So I have to go next door and get some more. And I have to take a 10 away from that 2 and give it to the 4 to make 14. And remember, now that I took 1 away from 2, I have to have a 1 up here now. That's why I crossed it off. And so I'll work out my ones place because now I have more on top. 14 minus 7. Oh, that reminds me of a doubles fact because I know 7 plus 7 is 14. So 14 minus 7 is 7. Ooh, that's the inverse operation, right? 7 plus 7 is 14. If I switch my inverse or my sign, 14 minus 7 equals 7. Using the same numbers, but they're in a different order and I have a different sign. Just to kind of remind you of that, the inverse operation. All right, moving on to our tens place. So I have a 1 on the top and I have a 6 on the floor. So is there more on top or more on the floor in my tens place? There's more on the floor, so now I have to go next door and get some more. So because if I have 1 cookie, I cannot give 6 away. So I have to take 1 away from that 4, give it to the 1 to make it 11. Okay, I have to put it in front. And now that I took 1 away from 4, that has to turn into a 3. 11 minus 6. I can do that. There's more on top, so there's no need to stop. 11 minus 6 is 5. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. So I should have gotten 157. Let's do one more. And as you might figure out, this is our third problem. So this is usually that one where I will give you the problem and then I will have you pause this and try it with your class. Or if you're at home, you can try it by yourself or with whoever is at home. So I have 812 minus 246. So please try this problem, pause the video, try this on your own, and after you are done, you can resume the video and see if your answer matches mine. Okay, so I hope you tried this on your own. Remember, I'm just going to put a star on top of that ones place. You do not have to, but that's like a little note to let me know that I need to figure out my ones first. And I'm going to ask myself that famous question, is there more on top or more on the floor? Well, there's more on the floor because 2 is less than 6. So I have to go on, there's more on the floor, so I have to go next door and get some more. And I cross out my 1 in my tens place, and I give 1 to my 2 to make it a 12. And now that I crossed off a 1, I took that away, so now I have 0 in the tens place. So I took the only one that there was. So is there more on in the ones place only? Is there more on top or more on the floor? There's more on top. So I can figure that out. 12 minus 6 is 6. Ooh, another doubles fact. 6 plus 6 is 12. So 12 minus 6 is 6. Again, we use the inverse operation right there. I just hope you noticed that. All right, so now we are looking at our tens place. We have a 0 now on top. And we have a 4 on the floor. Is there more on top or more on the floor? There's more on the floor, so we have to go next door and get some more. I have to take 1 away from that 8 and give it to that 0 to make it a 10. And now that I took 1 away, there's a 7 now in my hundreds place. So is there more on top or more on the floor? There is more on top, so there's no need to stop. 10 minus 4 is 6. And 7 minus 2 is 5. So you should have gotten 566. I hope that you remembered to regroup whenever there was more on the floor. And then if there's more on top, then you can just subtract. So remember, your learning target today is I can subtract 3-digit numbers by using the algorithm, and I'll know I'm successful when I can regroup when there is more on the floor and just subtract when there is more on top.